free mocap, free animation rigs, and free retargeting. This is how to get mocap working in Blender. G'day everyone, Dicko here with another kick-ass walkthrough. In this video, I want to show you a few methods that you may want to try in order to get some cool mocap into Blender, which you can use in your own projects. All the stuff you're going to see in this video are freely accessible, including the mocap files, the mocap plugins, and also the animation rigs that we're going to use to animate with. This video will be split into two parts, one using the Mixamo plugin to create an animation rig, and the other to use Rigify. We're going to use BVH files to import some mocap and then retarget that mocap to either one of those animation rigs. To round out the video, I'm going to show a little bit of a time lapse of me cleaning up the animation to a more polished state that you saw at the start of this video. All the links for the BVH files, retargeting plugins, and animation tools will be listed in the description. And if you wish to download the source files for this video, consider joining my Patreon where I have ad-free videos, source files, and other goodies for you to check out. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Alright, so before we get to this stage, what you see here, we're going to need a couple of things. Firstly, we're going to need some bloody mocap. Secondly, we're going to need some plugins. So let's go check out what we can download and use to our advantage. So I've got a few windows here open. If you recall from my mocap series with Motion Builder, we use the Carnegie Mellon University Motion Capture Database. And although these are mostly optical data, if you go to FAQs, you'll see that some people have graciously gone ahead and converted all the optical data to what is called a BVH file. And that is basically a rig, animated rig files that allow us to transfer animation to other rigs. So although I think when I last checked, the link was broken here, we can still access it from this page here from CG Speed. And that has the entire library already converted to BVH, ready to roll. And you can download the entire library, good to go. So go ahead and download either part of the library or the entire thing and unzip all those files, and you'll have every animation based on that database. The second thing to download is you'll need this, the Rokoko real-time 3D animation plugin for Blender. You don't need the studio part, you just need the plugin. So just get this plugin, install it, follow the instructions. It's really easy to do, and you'll get a few prompts and it should be working in no time. So grab that. The other thing you'll need, probably, if you want to do some animation cleanup, is this plugin called Animaide. And Animaide is a kick-ass fucking plugin that lets you animate offsets across your entire animation graph. So definitely download this plugin and install it as well. Finally, you will need the Mixamo in Blender plugin, and this is provided by Adobe. Free to download, of course, and same install process as everything else. Check it out, and once you've got all those things, we're ready to roll. Okay, so starting with the Mixamo method. Okay, so I've already gone ahead and used the Mixamo website to bind a armature to my character. If you haven't done this before, it's super easy. You just got to log into Mixamo on the Adobe website, upload your own character, and it will do the rest for you. It's really simple. Then download the file, and you're good to go here in Blender. I'm not going to go through the process of doing this because the actual website shows you how to do it really easily, and importing the file is just a matter of importing the FBX file. So we're going to start off with the importation of those BVH files. So I'm just going to start with a single BVH. Unfortunately, there is a disadvantage with using Blender and this method in that we cannot import multiple takes at the same time in the same way that Motion Builder handles it, which is just designed for that sort of thing. So you'll have to do it on an individual basis. With that being said, let's just grab a random piece of animation, bring it in, and see what we can do about getting this to work. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to File, Import, and we're going to look for BVH. And you can see it here, Motion Capture File, BVH. And we're going to navigate to the folder where I've saved those CMU BVH files. And I'm just going to choose any random assortment here. I'm going to go with one of these. And screw it. Let's see which one's a nice chunky file. This one looks pretty good, I think. The 1 meg one. We should get some pretty decent animation out of that. Let's import that and see where the hell it is. You can see here we have one issue, of course, in that the file is fucking huge, as in like the actual scale of this thing is huge. But that's okay. We'll figure out this in due course. So let's extend this out by about 1,000 frames and see what we're working with here. All right. All right, cool. Looks like everything's working pretty good. It's about 700 frames worth of animation. Not the most interesting animation. And we also have the issue in that the animation is running really, really slow. And that's because the BVH that we imported hasn't been adjusted to the frame rate of our scene. Now our scene is running at, I think, 24 or 30 frames a second. 24. But this video probably would have been recorded, the mocap would have been recorded at around 120 frames a second. So we need to work with that in mind. So with that in mind, let's delete that file and open up a new one, import BVH. And I'm going to click a random one, screw it. And you'll see here, we have this option here of scaling the FPS and also scaling the rig itself. So let's go ahead and scale the FPS. And we're going to bring the scale down, I think, to 0.01. That should do the trick. Let's go ahead and import that. And now you'll see that the scale is now a little bit too small. So it might be just 0.1. But the good thing is that the animation is now playing at the correct FPS. All right, so we've got that working. Let's go ahead and just sort out our scale. And just let's have a look at, see what the scale's like there. Okay, sweet. All right, so let's go ahead and re-import that once more. Again, just clicking the same one. Let's try 0.1. If that doesn't work, it might be a bit more like 0.015 or something like that. Okay, yep. So 0.015 might be the right call here. Let's go import again, motion capture BVH. Let's go about 0.015. That's looking a bit better. And if we go to our rest position, that's looking pretty good. That's close enough, close enough. And if we, line that up and have a look, that's good. All right, cool. All right, so we've got our animation working here. Looking pretty good. So how the fuck are we gonna get this BVH content from one rig to the other? So right now, this first example, we're using a Mixamo bound rig. So we used Mixamo online to bound the character to a deform rig. And now we want to transfer that animation to the Mixamo rig. How do we do that? Well, that's where the Rokoko plugin comes into play. We're going to use the Rokoko plugin to basically communicate between the two rigs and transfer the animation across. So let's go ahead and give that a whirl. So the first thing we're going to need to do is set this to a rest position. All right, let's go with that for now. And let's inspect the similarities between these rigs. So you can see here, they're relatively similar, but they're not exactly the same. And the naming conventions are completely different as well. So if we went to this rig, you'll see that the label here is R thigh. We have left shoulder. So it's pretty basic stuff. Over here on the Mixamo rig, we have different naming here as well. So we need to be sure what to transfer what to. So this is actually pretty simple with the Rokoko plugin. So let's go ahead and switch over to the Rokoko plugin and you'll see this retargeting tab. We can select a source rig and a target rig to get this job done. So we're going to have the source rig as the mocap, and then we're going to have the target rig as our target. So the armature as our target. So what we need to do now is build a bone list. And a bone list is essentially what, and it seems to have done it automatically, which is pretty incredible. It's essentially what human IK does or the characterization does in Motion Builder. It's linking the two armatures together so that they can communicate and bake down the animation to a new rig. So luckily for us, it looks like Rokoko has been smart enough to detect the bone list between the two rigs. Normally, you would have to go in and manually go head to head, chest to chest, hips to hips, legs to legs, etc., 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 and find the equivalent joint. But it looks like the bone list has been already figured out for us. How cool is that? So we're already making our lives a little bit easier just with that already. All right, so with that in mind, if it's already working, let's give this a go. Let's put this back into its pose position. Let's reset the position of the rig itself and see what happens when we retarget the animation to this rig. 1, 2, 3. And we got some duplicate bone entries. Okay, so it hasn't been perfect. We need to find out what those bones are. And as you can see here, we have, please use each target bone only once. Mixamo right shoulder and Mixamo rig left shoulder. So let's have a look and see where those duplicates are and fix that up. So there's our shoulders. On one, collar and shoulder. Okay, let's have a see and put this back into rest position and just see which bones are the ones that will probably be the most appropriate to link up. So let's go and see. This one's called collar. This one's called shoulder. So, all right, sweet. So we don't want to have the shoulder in the Mixamo rig being driven by the bicep. So the bicep has its own name here, left arm and shoulder. So let's make sure that those are nice and clear. So in our case, this one is called collar and shoulder. All right, so shoulders in Mixamo should link to collar, and upper arm should link to shoulder in the case of this rig. So let's have a look and see. So collar and left shoulder, that's good. So this one should be left arm. Let's make sure that's the case again. Left arm. All right, cool. So that should be left arm. All right, so shoulder, left arm. And the right shoulder, wherever that is. Where the fuck are you? Right shoulder should be right arm. All right, let's give that a go. All right, let's reset that. Put that back into pose position. Save the file. And let's try again. 3, 2, 1, and retarget. It's doing its thing. And boom, we got ourselves the animation working. Looks like a treat. Let's go ahead and hide that that BVH. Her ears haven't been edited properly, but the animation is working instantaneously. How cool is that? Now, the only thing we have wrong here is the animation in the arms is looking a little bit shit. But that's okay. We can fix that in a moment. All right, so let's go ahead and fix up these arms a little bit. And the solution's pretty simple. We need to download another plugin, in which it's called Animaide, and that's another free plugin. All these plugins are free, actually. So Animaide, let's make sure it's turned on. It is. Great. And let's go ahead and fix up those offsets. So grab the pose mode, grab this, and in Animaide, turn on animation offset on. We're going to rotate that arm. Come on, work. One. And see how this fixes it too. Let's just go with that for now. Actually, let's go with this. That'll do. and turn that off. And let's see what happens. Okay. And better than nothing, but it's doing its job, and it looks like I think it's pretty decent. We can fix it up a little bit further if we want to, so we can just go ahead and turn that on. And rotate. Might want to change the shoulder rotation as well. Let's go ahead and do that. That seems to fix the problem a bit better. All right, cool. Turn that off. And brilliant. It's all working pretty damn well. Okay. Let's go ahead and fix those fucking ears first. All right. Now, the only problem now is that we can't really edit the animation in the same way that we could inside of Motion Builder, where we had like full IK control, FK control, all that sort of shit. Now, Adobe, in their most gracious of moods, it seems, have released a plugin for Blender for free that allows you to convert Mixamo rigs, Mixamo animation, into control rigs, where you can edit the animation and improve, well, what it's meant to be, the official Mixamo library. But there's nothing stopping you from using your own animation from somewhere else, attaching it to a Mixamo rig, and then editing the animation on a Mixamo control rig. How cool is that? So what we're going to do is use the Mixamo plugin to add controls to this thing with a click of a button. So hopefully this will work out as well. All right, cool. So let's grab that Mixamo plugin. There we are, Mixamo Control Rig. Hello, hello. There you are. And let's go to frame 2 and see what happens. So the way that Mixamo, the plugin works, is basically based on naming convention. It's not really based on anything else other than the naming convention of the bones that are featured inside of the control rig. Oh, not control rig, the deform rig of Mixamo. So as long as the naming conventions are all there, and there's nothing else really to conflict, this should work with the click of a button. So let's go ahead and push this button, create control rig with the armature selected, and see what happens. So we're going to choose a source skeleton for one, and push create control rig. We want to have apply animation to both the IK and the FK. Push OK. Let it think, and voila, look at that. We have a control rig. A control rig that can be edited just like any other rig. How cool is that? And the animation works with the control rig. And we've done this for free. No money, no cost. That's all you need. All the thing you need is some time to build out a character rig. Grab the Mixamo rig. Grab the plugins. Get the CMU Library Animation BVH library. And you've basically got the same thing out of Blender as what you would in Motion Builder. The caveat is, in terms of blending these animations, it's a lot harder in Blender to blend multiple animations together than it would be, say, in Motion Builder. So there is that caveat. That being said, if you just need a few animations to do something, a loop or an action or something for a game or whatever, this is pretty much all you need, and it works brilliantly. All right, so here we are with Rigify, and you can see here a far more complex animation rig than Mixamo will ever be. Plenty of other stuff to do with this. We can do cool little toony controls. You name it. You can shrink things up. You can cartoonify things, all kinds of crap. And you can see here we also have a pretty robust facial control rig ready to roll. And it's working amazingly well. All right, cool. So we all have this. We have this stuff in mind for transferring some extra animation. So how are we going to do that? And the answer is pretty simple. It's basically exactly the same way as in the Mixamo rig, except with a more complicated control scheme. All right. Now, the only unfortunate thing about this is that we won't be able to bake it down to a simple rig and then transfer across all FK, IK, you name it, as you would with the Mixamo rig. So there are trade-offs here still. But we're still going to get some pretty cool animation out of this, I think. So let's go ahead, start with a fresh, cleaned out rig, no animation keyframes, no nothing. Save that file. And we're going to make a new collection for our BVH. And let's import that motherfucker. All right, so we got ourselves a pretty complicated animation here. Well, that's cool. Let's give it a go. So, open up our Rokoko. Let's close off this shit. And grab our Rokoko plugin. There it is there. We're going to do the same thing as before. We're going to set the retargeting source to the BVH and the target to our rig here. Build the bone list. Let's see what happens. It's probably going to spaz out. There's so many bones inside of Rigify. And you can see here, it's not perfect. So we have to go through, it's got the definition, like technically it's correct. The problem is it's not going to the right part of the rig. So if we were to try and bake this down, it will deform it'll add keyframes to the deform rig. But because Rigify is basically constraining all those joints, it's not gonna work. So we need to replace these with some control shapes. So you can see here, torso, for instance, can be one of them for the hip. So that's the base joint there. Or the in the case of the IK legs, this might not work very well. We'll see. Otherwise, we can do FK legs. We can bind that to the foot, and I think we'll have to do FK legs for this one. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. So let's go ahead and switch the rig in the settings to FK. So main properties, where are we? Let's grab the feet and turn on FK IK. So we want to have that set to 1 for FK. 1 for FK. On all these joints. Arms. There we go. And the feet. All right, cool. Nice thing is that we can actually convert, looks like we can actually convert the action down to FK and IK. See how FK is not working anymore? There we go. FK is working really well. As planned. All right, great. So what we need to do is keep an eye on the names here of the joints. So let's go ahead and hide away anything that is IK on the control joints here. Let's turn off all the tweakers, secondary, turn off the face, turn off the leg tweaking, turn off the arm tweaks. So we only have the bare bones rig visible for us. So these are the joints that we are going to be working with. Let's turn off the fingers as well. We don't need those. And we'll turn off the finger detail there as well. The root we can keep in place just in case. And save that for now. So let's go ahead and keep a mental note of what's going on. We can even just turn on bone labels actually. Let's go ahead and turn on bone labels in the settings here. Turn on show names over here. Turn on show names so we can see exactly what's going on. Let's zero out this rig and just put it aside for the time being so we don't get any overlaps. And let's see what is going to be associated with what. Okay, so let's grab our Rokoko again. And we're going to start through the list. All right. So we have, for the hip, we need to have our, I'm going to assume it's going to be the torso. So let's go ahead and make that torso. That's going to drive most of the rotations in that cartwheel. For the abdomen, that's interesting. I'm going to skip that one and go straight to chest. So chest will be driven by this control here. And that is called chest. That one got it right. For neck, we're going to make sure it's neck, head for head, and so forth. Collar, shoulder, L. Oh, that's right. Make sure you get the right ones. Now remember, shoulder in the case of the joints here is actually the bicep or the upper arm. So upper arm is the one to go with. And we want to make sure it's the upper arm FK, not the IK, the FK. So in this case, it's going to be right. Forearm it should be the same. FK, yep. Hand, FK. Making sure that everything's FK and you're doing it on the right side of the body. Now this can be a bit time consuming, so go ahead and just be conscious of what you're selecting, and I'll be with you in a sec. All right, so I've gone ahead and linked up what I assume are the correct controls to link up with this armature. Now you may notice that with this BVH, we've only got two finger joints for these things. So I've just done my best judgment and went with index 1 and 2, index 2 and 3, mid 2, 1 and 2, etc. in my list. But it might be worth changing it if they don't look great. But otherwise, I think we should be pretty safe. I'm gonna go ahead and save that. I'm gonna reset the location of our rig here, put it back into pose position, and let's hope that this will work. Let's go ahead and grab our control rig, push OK. All right, save this. 3, 2, 1. Let's go ahead and retarget this. All right, let's bring that down. 3, 2, 1. And we got ourselves some renamed targets. All right, let's go ahead and just fix that up. Let's do that again. Index 1, L. Yep, there it is. And what's the other one? Pinky 2R. Yeah, that should be L. At least it gives you a warning. Put it that way. All right, let's save that and retarget. Okay, did we get lucky? Oh shit, look at that. Amazing. Fucking amazing. And there you go. Free mocap, free plugin, free software, and animatable as well. Now, of course, there are some offsets, as you can see. Interesting that this keyframe is missing. This is missing keyframes. That's probably why it's missing. It's missing keyframes there. Okay, so let's go ahead and redo that then. Let's redo that baking. All right, so back to Rokoko. One of the legs is probably in the wrong label. And RL. FK. IK, there we go. So you want to make that FK. So my site screwed me a little bit there. There we go. Let's try that now. Retarget. There we go. Sick. Working amazingly well. Amazingly well. And would you look at that? Oh gosh, how cool is that? And it's I can't. When I look at this stuff, sometimes I think, how is this stuff free? How is it free? Anyway, that's all you really need to know about this stuff. I mean, the rest is just really going ahead and cleaning up animation and fixing up keyframes and doing the classic animation stuff. You can add in more animation if you want to with new actions. Everything you want to do with that, you can do in the traditional Blender sense. You just got to import each BVH independently, do it in fresh bake, and you're good to go. But man, that's cool. All right. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it gives you some crazy ideas of what you can do with this stuff. And with that being said, catches and have fun. Cheers.